Welcome back to BS Reviews. We're going to do what to watch because I've been watching a lot of TV lately, being unemployed, getting laid off because of, the global pandemic and everything is on fire. But anyways, that's why I have a lot of time on my hands. So recently I've been watching a lot of movies and TV shows. I want to go over 3 movies that I've recently watched. And I think you're going to actually have an input in some of these.
I hope so. Let's go.
Okay. So the first one was Six Underground on Netflix, the Ryan Reynolds movie.
I actually have watched that. Yes, go.
Okay, well, perfect. Then you definitely can have some input into it. So, what were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was a more fun, not Fast and the Furious, but a Fast and the Furious feel with the crew and the people. Except it was a crew. The reason they call them the 6 on there is because we don't give a shit about your name. You're going to die at some point. We want to be able to replace you and not have any connection to you. So I really liked it was a crew, but it wasn't based on, as Vin Diesel always family. It was about taking out bad people. People that deserve to die that can go through the cracks. Basically, a worldwide version of Dexter. So it was...
okay, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Taking the people that can't be taken down by the authority on there? Go ahead. Let me hear what you have to say, because it's been a minute.
As soon as it started, I was like, did Michael Bay direct this?
It felt like it. Yeah, with all the lens flares and some explosions fucking everywhere. I saw it right away.
So funny, as I watched an older movie, The Island, with it was back in 2006, so it was before Transformers.
Okay.
And that had Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson in it, and I watched that one and then watched this one the very next day, and I was like, this is Michael Bay. 100% this is Michael Bay. And I looked it up, and it is.
Yeah.
He
Tilted
just has
camera.
that cliche feel.
Mm-hmm.
I liked this movie because it was entertaining.
Right.
I enjoyed the characters. Ryan Reynolds being the billionaire and wanting to, rid the world of shit.
Tony Stark. He was Tony Stark, except without a suit. Incredibly
I
smart, a genius through and through with a lot of money because of the
Yep.
shit he's done in the past and wanting to correct the wrongs of the world. Yes.
Yeah. So he was fun, and they definitely threw in some Ryan Reynolds vibes in there. There were moments I'm like, that's a Ryan Reynolds line. His humor would come out. I actually really enjoyed 2, the CIA former agent, and who was she? I think she was with 3. They were hooking up. I really liked them. They were fun.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I like them. I did not expect, what's his name? James Franco's little brother. I think his name is Dave. I didn't expect to see him in this movie. And there he is driving at the very beginning of the movie. And then I'm like, oh, he's in this movie. And then he dies.
Yep. Got him. It's going to be one of those movies. Don't get attached.
Yeah, don't get attached, no. And then they brought in number 7, who was the military guy. And I've actually met him. He was in 24 Legacy, so I worked with him with the short time that show was on.
Mm-hmm.
He slimmed down. He had gained some weight and then slimmed down a lot for this role. But I really liked him. I thought he did a really good job of that stand-up soldier who did kind of want to make it into a family.
Right.
The action was over the top,
it was fun.
Ridiculous, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. You can't think too hard about it though.
Yes, it's not an Inception movie. It is it's like I said, a Fast and the Furious meets wow, there's so many different references. I was gonna say Dexter on there, but we already used that as a reference on it. But it's what is it? Mission Impossible kind of deal where you're going up against odds. But the hiding in the pool and the firefight scenes that they have and the sniping and all this kind of stuff. It's beautiful.
I love the parkour guy, number 4 or whatever. I loved watching.
I thought he was overrated. I thought he was overrated as shit because they were like, look at him jump across these walls, boing, boing, boing. He's like a human rabbit. I'm like, he's fucking jumping. I mean, it's not like he's like Deadshot or anything like that. Hardcore parkour! I'm not gonna lie, I almost just tipped my chair over just for the fucking meme of it.
Yeah, it was over the top. Don't expect anything. If you watch this, don't expect a serious movie or anything like that. It's kind of stupid. It's gory, very, very gory. They do not hide. If somebody blows up a face, they're gonna show you as much as they possibly can. I was surprised at how much gore this had. So that was kind of intense. But
Good.
it was fun. It was like if you're stuck and you don't have a job either, stuck in quarantine still, like just throw this on Netflix. It's free.
Agreed. What's your next one?
And again, this is one that I think you'll have input in. The Platform.
Yes, I have not watched The Platform, but again, I brought it up in this channel in the past. It is called Found Flicks, and a guy's been doing this channel for years, and all he does is take horror movies and breaks down the entire horror movie, and it's usually 15 to 20 minute videos, so he goes into great detail about what they were going for, and the style, and the feel, and the relation to other directors, and such like that. He was recently doing the online, since quarantine, obviously, he was doing an online horror movie festival through Chattanooga a couple weekends ago. And so I watched one of his videos on one of the side movies there, and he said it was actually one of the breath of fresh air for the style that they were going with on it. So again, Found Flicks, I definitely recommend it. I have not watched what you're speaking of on The Platform, but I know all about it through him, and I want to give full credit and props to it.
Okay. So yeah, it is a Netflix original, and I knew going into it that it would have a similar vibe as Snowpiercer with the.
I brought it up.
Yes, you did. So in Snowpiercer, you have like the front of the front of the train gets like everything and more privilege, and then the back of train they get nothing. Mm-hmm. This is different in the fact that like either you can volunteer or you're like put in this giant hole, and it's basically just a square room with an empty hole in the middle, and you can look up and there's just floors, and look down and there's floors, and you basically are on random levels for a random month. So you could be on level 76 for 1 month, and then next month you're on level 6, and the next month you're on level 121 or whatever it is. So you're there for a month, and you have one other person in your room, and they basically have the platform that comes down in the middle, and it stops at your level, and it has all the food on it. But if everybody above you, if you're on level 192, then the food is gone by the time it gets to you. So then how do you survive for the next month? People are killing each other, and it was very, very intense. Like some people were trying to like make portions and trying to say share, but then they're like, we were on level like 100 and something last month, they
didn't share for us, why should we share for them? It's about the trickle down of money and the show of the top 1%, and if they kind of gouge themselves and take anything they need, it just doesn't have anything to trickle down. So that's why I definitely recommended it.
I really like, because so when he first gets in there, he has one roommate that is kind of a psychopath. But I really liked his second roommate. His second roommate was actually the person who interviewed him to be put in the platform, because he wanted to go on the platform for 6 months to like get a degree or something. Like he was giving something if he survived. But his roommate in the next month or whatever, this third month he was there, was the person who interviewed him. And this is after 3 months. 1 month where, he was on level 47 or something, and then the next month they're on level like 100 and something, and his roommate almost kills him. It's insane. So he's kind of gotten that after being a month of torture. He's kind of gotten depressed, and he's just like, I gotta survive. I don't give a shit about the people below me anymore. Like he's kind of got that mindset now. And she said to him that, because he asked how many floors there were, and she said 250. And at one point they go to the next month and they get moved to floor 267 or something, and she hangs herself. And it was just like, she didn't even know. She worked for this organization, and she didn't even know how many floors were in there.
Yeah, and that's why he got lied to about, 6 months here, and you can get a degree in anything you want, and it seems like a cakewalk, because it's like a social experiment. It is a social experiment, but you're fucked, basically. That's what it is. It's a wonderful prison. It's a...
Yeah, and at one point, so there's this woman who sits on the platform, and she's looking for her son. So every month she wakes up in a new number or whatever, and she sits on the platform. She tries to go down each platform to try to find her son, but the farther she goes down, the more likely she is to get killed, because by that point there's no food, so people are eating each other. But at one point he's on level 6, and they're like, we have to do something about this. We can't just keep doing this. There's people that are dying. Like, this isn't okay. So they decide that they're going to him and his roommate get on the platform, and they stop the first 50 floors from eating. They're like, you guys get food every other, like, you guys get food gorge yourselves every day. We're going to do every other day for you. And they have weapons and they're standing there and they're like, no, we're going to get food down to other people. Like they're trying to stand, and they're doing it in a very physical way. And they're hurting people who are trying to take food. And they're like, no. And they get to one point and his roommate comes across his old mentor, and they're like, what's the message you want to send? What's the purpose of this? And so they decide that they're going to have one piece of food that when it goes back up to platform 0, that it will be untouched, and it will be a message to the people who are on level 0 to show them, that there is some kind of good, like people can, not kill each other for like this. And they get past level 250 and they keep going and keep going and keep going. And it ends on level like 333. And they find the little girl that her mom was sitting on the platform looking for her. And they find this little girl and they let her eat the food because she's like at the very bottom. And they realize that she's the message. It's not about the food being untouched, but it's about the next generation. And it's about what we're doing for the next people. And so they put her on the platform and they sent her up to the top to deliver that message. Just her being in there, and she's like 7 years old, her being there is a message. And then her in the fact that this is all happening and is going to continue to happen for the next generation. What are we leaving them with? Like, it was intense. So yeah, it was very, very intense. I know you know everything about the movie, but you haven't seen it. Like, you should definitely watch it.
Yeah, it definitely had some gore scenes in it that kind of turned me away from it. Yeah, with cutting him up while he's alive to eat him from the one roommate and stuff like that. But I after you gave me Snowpiercer as a homework assignment, I saw the found flicks of this, and I was like, that seems right up this alley for the social and situation that's going on and everything, where it was just a trickle down of the 1%. So it's definitely been on my list. I haven't actually popped it off yet, but it's something that I'm interested in through and through.
Yeah, Netflix original. So again, you can watch it for free. Just pop it in whenever you're bored. The last movie I wanted to bring up, and I'm almost positive you haven't seen this. I was just flipping around and I saw something on, again, Netflix. It's called Time Trap. It came out in like 2017, but it's on Netflix. It's not a Netflix original. It's a new, or it came out in theaters, I guess. But it's only an hour and a half long movie, and I was like, it had a cool premise of basically a professor enters a cave and goes missing, and some of his students go looking for him, and they end up getting trapped in the cave as well. But time runs completely different in there, and they don't realize that time in that cave runs differently, and in that cave there are different areas of that cave that time runs differently.
I liked it. When you said differently, I knew something was up, because you didn't say time stands still or time advances so much quicker. You said time runs differently, and instantly I knew there's different forms of how time is going to be managed. So it piqued my interest right away. Don't explain too much on this. I want to see this now.
Yeah, I won't ruin any spoilers, but I will say it's not, like, I didn't give it a great score. It was just one of those where I was like, this looks interesting. Like, it feels very much like a B-C movie. Like, it's not going to be like your top, like, just don't get your expectations up.
It's more of the idea.
I liked the idea of it, and I thought I knew how it was going to go. Like, I'm like, oh, this is going to happen, and it didn't, and then something else happened. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you don't get all the answers that you want. But I like the premise of it. I think it could have been done better. And I would love it if somebody put a different spin on this. But I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's like a B movie that you just kind of watch, because it's just like, what? I want to know these answers, and you don't get all the answers you want, but it's still interesting.
Okay. Raises questions. Yeah, not bad. I did remember a movie, and I'm going to go ahead and pop it off right now, if that would be all right with you.
Yeah.
A movie I watched this weekend with my kids and my dad and everybody. We actually watched Underwater. It is the one with, what is it, Kirsten Stewart, Mrs. James Bond, not James Bond, Charlie's Angels, bullshit, awkward standing in the helicopter vibe that she.
Stewart.
Yeah, that's her name.
Stewart.
Eminem.
It looks like Eminem
Yes.
in the trailer. Yes, I remember us talking about that.
The movie gets started immediately. There's no lollygagging or anything like that. Dilly dally, shilly shally. None of that going on. It is basically
no like character building.
No, it's basically like the opening credits kind of talk about with headlines and showing drill under the ocean, a Mariana Trench, and that kind of stuff. And it immediately, when it gets into the character, she's brushing her teeth in that facility underwater, and then there's like a spider in the wall. She takes it off and lets it go. Like they go over there and be safe because she was gonna wash it down the pipe. And instantly, I was like, that's symbolism of her being washed down the pipe later on in this movie, isn't it? Because she let it go. Anyways, we're watching the movie, and I want to point out my son goes. She leans over halfway through it, goes, the good guy never dies in these movies. And I was like, okay. So I just want you to remember that. Anyways, so we're watching the movie, and it's a sci-fi adventure. It's a mix between The Abyss and the original Alien, because something explodes, and because of the compression of how far, they're like 6 miles under the surface, the sea level. And when something goes, it fucking goes. And there's a small group of people that are left. T.J. Miller's in it as well as some kind of comedy. But they end up realizing they're going to have to walk like 1.5 miles in pitch black on the bottom of this fucking ocean, 6 miles under, to go to the actual drill to be able to take it up to take the escape pods up to the surface. And they don't even know if the escape pods are fucking there. So as they're just like trotting along, they come across creatures, and these creatures are kind of think of like I would say think of an 8-foot human, very long and lanky, webbed fingers and toes, and its mouth opens up like in the Resident Evil movies where it's like that, and like tentacles and shit. And they are quick as shit, and they're pulling them out, yanking them one by one, killing them, etc. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, they are not, when you're running underwater, you're like,
yeah.
These things are just up and down, left and right. It's amazing. So you're like, holy shit. So they get knocked off, pinned one by one. And the cool thing is when somebody's glass cracks on their mask, they're 6 miles under the ocean. So when that cracks, you see it, and their eyes get big, and then it just goes, it caves in and explodes. And it's very good visual effects. You think of it like space, where it's like that. It's the same thing as that much pressure underwater. I thought the visual effects were actually pretty good. I'm going to spoil the fucking movie, so just a heads up, anybody that's interested.
I'm gonna watch it.
Okay, so they end up getting to the drill, and there's like whatever her name is, the lead, because like Kristen. She gets there, and another girl gets there, and like the other girl's husband, TJ Miller, had been killed off. So they all three get there. And as they're walking up, they see right above like the walkway to the door to go into the drill area, all these hands that are floating down. And these hands are floating, 8 foot long. And they're just floating. And if anything touches them, it's kind of like tentacles where it kind of wakes them up. So they're going through there and everything like this. And one of them just kind of sticks its hand down and it starts going across her face as she's like slowly trying to walk. It's a very good visual on there. And it ends up waking it up. It comes down and just like swallows her like a fucking like pelican. You know how pelicans like have that thing? It goes and just swallows her. She shoots this like nail gun in it, blows it up, and then they think they're good. All of a sudden you see these eyes from all that stuff up top come down and looking at him. So she takes off, and then all of a sudden that whole thing leaves, and you're like, what the fuck? And like what they were all attached to leaves, and as it's leaving, it looks like it's like pores on your skin of where these 8-foot creatures are sticking out of, and it disappears, and then you see kind of flashing from explosions in the distance. It's like fucking Cthulhu. This motherfucker is like, I'd say 1,000 feet tall, 6 miles below the ocean. They drilled, they did Pacific Rim. They drilled too far. They released Cthulhu into this movie, and all those are the babies of it that are actually coming out of its pores and stuff like that. And they end up, there's 3 pods. They get there. She realizes her pod is fucked, but she's like, you know what? Fuck it. I've lost the love of my life. I have nothing to live for. Everything is good. Let's get these 2 lovebirds out of here. So she sends them both up. The last girl, right before she sends her, she's like, she realizes the other girl's pod's broken, and she's like, no, I can't do this. And she's like, oh, well, okay, just go wham! And just tags her, knocks her in, shuts it, and sends her up. And Cthulhu's sitting there, and he just kind of like, I'd say pulls, like, I would say flexes, And because he flexes, it shoots out all the pores from his body, all these creatures, and they start swimming up after the pod like a fucking turbine. And she sees it on the radar, and she just is like, she overclocks the actual drill. And the actual, like the nuclear have the fusion of it actually occur. And right as Cthulhu, I'm going to call it Cthulhu, I don't know what the fuck it was, but right as it realizes it tries to get away, it just explodes. And then it's a cover-up of what happened under the sea. There was an accident, everything's been top secret, it's been classified, but they are going to continue drilling. What it basically feels like, that's another reason for Alien, the whole Alien business is like, everybody died, but we're going to send a crew out there to figure out why, but they really want to get a specimen of it. They really want to learn from this creature. That's kind of... I would recommend it as a watch. It wasn't very scary. It was more intense than anything.
Did you like Kristen Stewart, or did she bug you again?
She was fine. That character could have been played with almost anybody, to be perfectly honest with you. There was nothing special with her. There was a lot of her in her underwear, because every time she got out of her like suit gear and everything like that, like the movie opens up, she's brushing her teeth and just underwear.
Yeah.
And then the movie's like getting close to the end before they have to make the final walk to the drill. She's in her underwear. And she gets there, she thinks everyone's dead. She's in her underwear again, taking a shower. So, I mean, it's literally just like, hey, she's a popular person in her underwear. Let's go ahead and emphasize that. But no, Cthulhu threw me for a fucking loop. I did not see that shit coming. Because those creatures, they show a little one about this big, or for beginning of the movie, and you're like, is that a baby? Even Tyler asked, is that a baby? But then they show the big ones, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you realize the big ones are just coming out of the pores of the massive one. And I was like, damn, didn't see that shit coming. But as the lead character dies, when she blows that place up, I look over to my son and I go, so the main character never dies, huh? And he looked at me and he was just like, he was so mad. He was like, fine.
Yeah, the exact face he would be making.
Right. And what's up, Ed? But yeah, that is that threw me for a loop. I would recommend it just for a fun watch.
Okay.
It's nothing you have to really pay attention to. I was in and out. I was burning a bonfire this weekend, so I was in and out of the house. But I watched it enough to kind of get the plot of the movie, and it was fun. TJ Miller wasn't as annoying self like he normally is either, so I give him props there. And he did die, so it helps as well.
Okay, well then, I have one more for you then, and this one is going to be completely side note. It's not because you mentioned TJ Miller. I've finished binge watching Silicon Valley. Have you ever seen that?
I have not, but it sounds like a show that I've always needed to. It's right up my alley.
Yes, and I will admit, TJ Miller was so obnoxious in the beginning. Like the first season, I was like, can your character just die, please? Like very, very obnoxious. But just side note, we binged all 6 seasons, and Russell's very, very picky when it comes to shows. Like he loves The League, and when The League ended,
yes,
what the hell are we gonna
Shiva Kamana, Shiva Blast. I didn't know Russell was a Shiva Blast fan. You know, I've been to that bar.
I love The League as well. Thank you very much. But like we couldn't find a good comedy. Like we found a couple that were okay.
Vinegar Strokes.
Yes, this one basically he says it's on the same level as The League.
Ooh.
So now you have to watch it.
I do.
By the way. So just that's all I wanted to bring. I'm not going to say anything else about it. We'll wait until you actually watch the show, and then we can dive more into it. But it's awesome. I highly recommend. Like I couldn't stop watching.
What's it on?
Amazon Prime.
Okay. Yeah.
Amazon Prime.
I want to be able to finish my Clone Wars first because I'm about halfway through. It's about 7 seasons. The 7th season I heard is incredibly short, but I think I'm almost done with season 3 right now with the Clone Wars. When I finish that, Silicon Valley is something I've always been it's something that I forget about it, but I've always wanted to watch it. So
I think there's like 68 episodes, but it goes
That's
by
it?
so fast.
Sounds
they
like
have
it.
short seasons. They only have like the 6 seasons. They have like 8 to 10 episodes a season. But it's really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.